Welcome to SVG-TV News for Tuesday, April 13th, 2021. I am Rochelle Batiste with the details. La Soufrière volcano commemorates its 42nd anniversary today with another explosive episode. Lead monitoring scientist Professor Dr. Richard Robertson described the explosive event, which occurred around 6:30 a.m. as not as energetic as the other previous events.
Telling us again that it didn't have, even though it broke the cap, it didn't have as much energy as when it started out. So the amount of gas-rich magma that you have there, or that you have there that is at the surface, the amount of milk that you have to boil is probably being used up. So the amount of boiling and big explosion, say. So what we would expect, if it goes along the same pattern, is that again we would probably start to see an indication that it's trying to grow a dome. In other words, once it slows down, essentially, once it starts moving less fast, what we expect is that the magma to solidify, the top part of it that's close to the vent.
Professor Robertson noted that in the coming days, he expects things will be more quieter. However, the explosive eruption is likely to continue for weeks and even months to come.
That you had at the beginning. It doesn't look like it's like that at present, but the way in which the gas pockets move is not, the milk analogy is one thing because it tells you how to create the foam, but it's not so good because in the milk analogy, you have to have the gas coming through all the time. So you can think of it like you have pockets of gas-rich magma that's beneath the surface that comes up, tries to come up, and a batch gets enough pressure to either break the cap or go into a vigorous explosion, and then it caps itself, and then another set has to come through for it to keep going again. Now, we don't know how much you have that is there to come through, so therefore we don't know how long it will go on. As I said before, it could either go on for a few weeks or months, and therefore that will tell you whether or not you could have more of the same. But certainly it's suggesting to us what we see now, that we're probably into a quote-unquote more quieter period than the vigor that we had at the beginning, which I guess is a good thing. So that's in a bit more long-winded way of saying what we've seen so far.
The lead monitoring scientist said that huge ash falls are no longer expected from the volcano. However, pyroclastic flows and gas emissions are being realized.
That confirms what you're saying, but I don't know what would have happened in the northeast and northwest. No,
yeah, I don't think it got. I mean, we didn't get any. I'm at Belmont, which is just about between Rosal and Chumuka.
Yes,
we didn't have any ash from any of the activities. And even the activity on yesterday morning, we didn't have any ash. No, I don't think you had any kind of activity overnight that would have generated even proper explosions. What we had during the night, during the trauma episodes, was more venting of, it sounds more like gas and some ash at the volcano. So instead of having explosions, we had gotten into more gas and ash venting when the tremor happened. While before, when your tremor happened, you were having explosions. It changed since the explosion yesterday morning. We haven't really had, I think we had one about 11 o'clock yesterday morning, a little after 11. We had something that produced a lot of ash in Chatwell. It didn't get as far south as where we are now in Belmont. But then the activity tremor in the afternoon, in the evening, early evening, didn't produce that. And throughout the night, we didn't have any of that. So we've moved from something that's producing the ash during the tremor towards something that might produce an explosion, which is more limited in extent. And
the volcano alert level remains at red. Meanwhile, in an update today, the National Emergency Management Organization, NEMO, said 87 shelters with more than 3,880 occupants are now activated. It also noted that to date, some 446 families hosting over 2,000 persons in private sheltering have registered with the organization. NEMO said the National Emergency Operations Center continues to be fully functional, operating on a 24-hour around-the-clock basis, and that it will continue to provide regular updates on activities at the volcano as they occur. And Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves said that shelters across the country are still in need of more than 1,000 cots and mattresses. He was outlining some of the items that the shelters are still in need of during his morning update on NBC Radio.
The count which we have is about 1,400 and something more cots or mattresses we need. We had cots come in, but their space, which was closed, created a difficulty. We're getting some more. And we should, within a day or two, address this, because what we're talking about, I want also cots to go to families, people who are in families, in people's houses, not in the shelters, who may be sleeping on the floor with some bedding. I would like those persons to get a cot because there's less space taken up with that rather than the mattress.
Speaking on the 2,000 plus persons in private shelters, PM Gonsalves said these homeowners can call NEMO, which will provide them with some assistance.
Gone into these places, private people have opened their homes for families and friends. But that is that is not all. The number is far larger than that. So I want you to call into NEMO. There's a line which we're setting up. I have asked, we have gotten additional personnel to come to help with that. So I can help with not only within a few days' time, even for those persons with some cots, in addition to where in shelters you may need some more, because what happens is this: you may have 70 people in a shelter, and you had the allocation there, and then you have another 30 persons turn up.
Meanwhile, the Royal St. Vincent and the Grenadines Police Force is advising evacuees and other persons not to take illicit substances into the designated shelters across the country. The force says this practice has been observed and is asking persons to desist from doing so with immediate effect, noting that anyone found in breach of this order will be prosecuted by the law. And our news team went to the windward side of the island today to observe the situation there. They reported that some persons were still trying to get into the red zone to get supplies from their homes. One man told our news team that he walked 4 hours from Fancy as he was left stranded last evening, noting that he had to set his animals free.
No, I come in from Fancy. Fancy I walk in from this morning right now. No, well, I went up yesterday to do something like with my animal, and now I sleep up the last night, so I return back today.
Okay. The Fancy resident said it is a sorrowful sight in his community and neighboring communities.
Fancy? Mash up. Up the dangerous, man, terrible. Real terrible. The bridge, you know, yeah. Big river that gone. The bridge, you know, Sandy Bay that gone. The place terrible, man. Real work to do. Well, yesterday the flows will flow real hard yesterday. The river up there. Man, yeah, and all the way going up, real bad, real bad.
There are those who have not left the red zone. We spoke with 2 men from Georgetown who explain why they choose to stay.
My most interesting experience about this one is the first time I ever see night in a day twice. You understand where I'm coming from? The darkness that came over, I saw night in a day twice. The first night experience, when it was 8 o'clock in the morning, it was looking like 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. You know, so I stayed around for the experience. You know, people might say, oh, why you didn't move and things like that. But when we look at what we call the safe zone and things like that, you know, you just have to put yourself in certain areas and things like that. Get out from, if I was living in North, or whatever, I would not have stayed nowhere around there. That's craziness. But from a Georgetown standpoint, you can take some risks.
I actually stayed back because in 1979 I was 11 years old, and I listened to the scientists very carefully, and I observed everything that he said, and by doing that, I believe staying in Georgetown, in my opinion, in my house, was a safe area to be. And I try to experience everything so that I can relate it to the future generation.
At Lanley Park, police officers were on patrol and ensuring safety to property as well as animals. Sergeant Disraeli Lett said there were no arrests made.
At present, we are just ensuring that nobody enter the red zone because it is very hazardous, and there are checkpoints at Montyoung. However, we will patrol the area to ensure that pursuers who are in the red zone try to get to ensure that they get out the red zone, and in the meantime we're preventing pursuers from coming into the red zone. So we are only doing our regular patrol to ensure that pursuers' property and livestock are in good condition.
Okay, so what have you observed so far in terms of, were you able to make any arrests, so to speak?
No arrests so far, but we are continuing to monitor the situation, as I say, in respect to protecting life, properties and livestock for farmers.
Water continues to be an issue and persons have been walking miles to get some.
By Tony Lonely, Black Point. And the water not really good for drink really, but only mean, well, we still have to do something to help ourselves still.
How far are you reaching?
Just a gap up there.
Okay. How long it take to get to where you?
Well, it take a little bit of good distance to reach where we're going really.
And the lead scientist monitoring Lasso Frere, Vincentian Dr. Richard Robinson, has been praised for a job well done in giving timely information on the eruption of the volcano. Persons in the red zone said that he is the only scientist who they listened to on Lasso Frere volcano, noting that his analysis of the eruption before and after was spot on.
I want to give thanks and kudos to Richard Robinson.
I feel he was on the ball.
The man was on the ball. You know, and as a Vincentian, the contribution that man has made in saving lives, which is all his effort. We need to give this man thanks and celebrate him as a true Vincentian, a true patriot, I should say.
I listened to him very carefully, and everything that he was saying, I had said, everything that I saw happening. And I think that he knows fully well what he was saying, and I believe that he saved a lot of our lives.
For some, Dr. Robinson is considered a hero, as they feel it was due to his expertise that lives were saved. One elderly man said that the younger generation needs to follow in his footsteps.
Who will be the next Richard Robinson? Where is the next Richard Robinson? Would we wait on a Frenchman to come and tell us what we, or a Jamaican or something? We need another Vincentian who grow with this thing, to know. Richard grow with this thing, and Richard was very much on the ball. He knows his stuff. There was no guesstimate about it. You know, Rich is a hero, and we need to respect him. And children in primary school, secondary, need to say, boy, I want to be the next Richard Robinson. I hope, whether be a male or female student, I want to be the next Richard Robinson. Yeah, we need to take this education system serious when it comes to geography and science with this thing that we have to live with it, because we have to live with it. In other words, they could class him as the next hero after Shotway.
St. Vincent and the Grenadines received 20 tons of emergency supplies from the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela yesterday, Monday, April 12th. Speaking at a welcoming ceremony for the ship and its crew, Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonzalez said the humanitarian aid is a substantial gift from the people and government of Venezuela. 15 technical personnel were also sent to assist with SVG's assessment and relief efforts. They include medical specialists, first responders, and experts in search and rescue.
The vessel is here, and we have been given permission to utilize it. We want to send it hopefully to St. Lucia this evening to take up a lot more water. We have a lot of water here, but we want more water. But this is a very substantial gift aboard. Here too are vehicles to be used in the relief effort. We are also have on board 15 technical persons in all different descriptions to help us with the relief effort, including assessment. And this group will work within the framework of the Ministry of National Security, which includes disaster preparedness and NEMO. They'll work within the context of NEMO. We want to thank President Maduro. We want to thank the government and people of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela. This is an example of solidarity in Alba. And it's a wonderful thing to see the Caribbean and Latin American family coming together to the aid of the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
Also present at the ceremony was Venezuela's Vice Minister to the Caribbean, Raul Lecasos, who was appointed by President Maduro to coordinate the aid to St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Lecasos said the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines can count on Venezuela for support. The supplies sent include 17,000 liters of water, food, mattresses, and personal hygiene kits. The Venezuelan contingent will also work along with Cuban personnel on the ground.
Counting on us, on any situation that you have, we will be here helping, and this is a very good example. We're bringing 17,000 liters of water, we're bringing beds, we're bringing kits for help for the people that are right now in the shelters, and we are establishing a bridge, a maritime bridge between St. Vincent and other islands and other countries around in order to provide more help if needed. Also, we're here with our brothers from Cuba.
Since the start of the eruption of La Soufrière on April 9th, SVG have seen an outpouring of pledges and aid from neighboring Caribbean islands. With that in mind, 15 members of the Trinidad and Tobago Defense Force are now in SVG to offer physical support to those on island in light of the La Soufrière volcano eruption. TNT National Security Minister Stuart Young, during an early morning press conference, addressed the team just before they took to the seas for their humanitarian trip to SVG. Minister Young said in the first instance, they will be staying for 2 weeks.
Of this humanitarian aid trip to support one of our CARICOM sister countries is nothing short of remarkable for us, the citizens, but also what we've come to expect of you, the men and women of the Trinidad and Tobago Defense Force. I'd like to thank you all.
Members of the Defense Force left aboard the Galleon's Passage, where they will be taking up food, water, and other key essentials for distribution.
Significant amounts of water. We are also currently trying to arrange some marine vessels, water tankers, to take water up to St. Vincent. I believe on the Galleon's Passage, just making the vessel, we have a number of water trucks to assist in that. We have food supplies. Yesterday when I toured the vessel, I saw mattresses. We have a number of other items of relief to take to the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
Another effort is being made in Trinidad and Tobago to create 2,000 buckets of relief items to send to SVG. As we hear in this report, Siwa International and the Supermarkets Association of Trinidad and Tobago have partnered to make this goodwill activity become a reality.
Siwa International TT is a non- or not-for-profit service headed by Mr. Rivan Tiluksing, who says his organization is making sure they get it right so that the relief supply chain can be activated quickly for any future regional emergency.
This event as practice for what is to come in our 2021 hurricane season. So if we get this right, it means that we could also use this template for activity during the 2021 hurricane season in Trinidad and Tobago and the wider Caribbean. So we have looked at the needs list. We have been coordinating with the ODPM and through the ODPM who has been in contact with SEDIMA and many other regional bodies.
The parties are hoping to fill 2,000 buckets, which will be sourced locally. They are asking persons to make donations to supermarkets around the country with items from the approved list of donations. And President of the Supermarkets Association, Rajiv Dipti, says his partner supermarkets are taking part in this activity, fulfilling their duty to One Caribbean.
That we had to react given everything that has happened over the last year, including COVID-19, the volcano eruption, the economic challenges, and how as one community we've always been able to assist each other, much like Barbados has assisted us with vaccines, much like the CARICOM community has continued to assist each other during COVID-19. And this has been an additional setback to the community at large.
And the government of Montserrat will contribute 150,000 Eastern Caribbean dollars along with donations of essential supplies to SVG. Montserrat's Premier Farrell made the announcement on Monday, April 12th, following a meeting of his cabinet. Premier Farrell said the cabinet was also advised of the establishment of a local support team to either work from home or travel to SVG to provide assistance in key areas such as radio communications, shelter management, and operational support, among others. He noted that Montserrat has already provided technical support before the eruptions began, as scientists from the Montserrat Volcano Observatory joined their colleagues from the UWI Seismic Research Center in St. Vincent to monitor the La Soufrière volcano in January. To this end, the Premier said additional technical support will be provided as the scientists will have to be rotated depending on the duration of the increased activity and eruptions. The University of the West Indies is mobilizing its resources and expertise to provide support and relief to those affected by the volcano eruption here in SVG. The UWI said, consistent with its traditional emergency assistance protocols, it will activate a two-phase approach to the response. The first phase, it said, is a rapid response in the deployment of relief and experts to assist in the areas of greatest need in close coordination with the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines and the National Emergency Management Organization. The second phase, it says, will concentrate on the mobilization of expertise in the rehabilitation response. In this immediate phase, the UWI is encouraging its staff, students, alumni, friends, and partners to join in contributing financial resources with special priority towards healthcare, education, and displaced students left vulnerable following the eruption of the volcano. The university said it has coordinated 3 primary ways to give. They are the UWI Alumni Online Donation Platform, the UWI on-campus bank accounts, and the American Foundation for the UWI for North American donations only. Vice-Chancellor Professor Sir Hilary Beckles has given the assurance of the regional universities' continued commitment and readiness to provide technical capacity and general support as required. Since December 2020, when activity on the volcano was first detected, scientists from the UWI Seismic Research Center have been deployed to SVG. Teams on rotation are conducting ongoing monitoring, and their updates have been critical to the government's planning, activation of alert levels, evacuation, and other decision-making in the emergency management process. In other news, The police here are investigating the circumstances surrounding the shooting death of Dale Hooper, a 19-year-old laborer of Glen, that occurred on Friday, April 9th, 2021, about 9 p.m. in Glen. According to investigations, some unknown person or persons with malice aforethought caused the death of Hooper by shooting him about his body with a gun. The death of Hooper marks the 9th homicide recorded in St. Vincent and the Grenadines for 2021. A post-mortem examination is expected to be carried out on the body to ascertain the exact cause of death. Meanwhile, the police are investigating the circumstances surrounding the shooting incident, a shooting incident involving a 50-year-old laborer of Redemption Sharps that occurred on Sunday, April 11th, about 6:45 p.m. at Redemption Sharps. According to investigations, an unknown assailant with the intent to commit the offense of murder on the virtual complainant did an act which was more than merely preparatory to the commission of the offense by shooting him on his right hand and right side of his body with a gun. The police are asking persons with information that can assist with these investigations to contact the Assistant Commissioner in charge of crime at telephone number 1784-456-1339 or the officer in charge of the Criminal Investigations Department at 1784-456-1810 or any police station or officer that you are comfortable with. All information they say will be treated confidentially.